I pulled every public document I could find on Atlas Recovery and Tow. Business licenses, tax records, anything I could get. Turns out the place was in trouble. They'd been fighting off liens for unpaid fuel invoices. Their last owner had defaulted on a couple equipment loans, and they were behind on their property taxes for the fenced lot they use as a yard. My mouth twisted into a grin. Opportunity was knocking. Over the next 2 weeks, I talked to a lawyer, an old friend from high school who'd done a bit of business law on the side, and asked what it would take to buy them out. With a smirk, he said, "Less than you'd think." I drained half my savings, took out a small business loan, and signed the papers before anyone saw it coming. Atlas Recovery and Tow was mine. The first day I walked into that office with a brand new title in my hand. You should have seen their faces. The same dispatcher who treated me like trash froze mid-sentence, his eyes bulging when he saw me behind the counter with ownership papers. "Boss?" he stammered. "That's right," I told him. "I'm the boss now." I let it sink in for a second before dropping the hammer. Almost. "You're fired." Every time I saw one of those HOA board members drive past my property and glare at my truck, still parked right there in the gravel, I'd wave. And Buddy, yeah, same name as my dog in a different lifetime. Buddy, the new German Shepherd I'd adopted, would bark right at their BMWs, tail wagging like a flag of freedom. Him, the manager, 3 drivers, gone by noon. Owning Liberty Recovery and Haul was a bigger job than I'd ever imagined. I was used to swinging a hammer, pouring concrete, working with my hands, but managing a business was different. I was signing paychecks now, paying taxes, negotiating insurance, and training employees. But every time I walked through the tow yard and looked around, I reminded myself why I did it. One guy had gotten his old Camaro towed off his mother's driveway. We helped him fight to get it back. She's sick, and we couldn't move it because she was in the hospital. Another woman had her RV stolen by a shady landlord. We stopped the auction until a judge could rule. A teenage kid climbed out, nervous, wringing his baseball cap in his hands. Every person who'd had a hand in taking my truck got their walking papers. The shock on their faces was almost worth the price I paid for the business. He tried to argue, but I wouldn't back down. Then they called in noise complaints about trucks coming and going. I made sure every truck passed inspection, every driver had a perfect license, every record was airtight. They couldn't touch me. We weren't just a business anymore. We were almost like a watchdog for the community. We protected the little guy. I threatened to call the cops, and then the news. Buddy, my German Shepherd, was barking like crazy. "I see your reputation is catching up with you." I took photos, called the sheriff, and filed a report, though I didn't expect they'd catch whoever did it. By sunset, the kid's mom had her car back, and I'd found 5 more complaints about that same tow yard. I protect people from thieves. I personally drove out there, loaded up her car, and let it sit in our yard for free until she could afford repairs. I just didn't want what happened to me to happen to anyone else. That night, she cried on my shoulder, and I realized how messed up the towing world could be if nobody stood up for people. That's a reputation I'll wear with pride. I rebranded it as Liberty Recovery and Haul, hired veterans and local mechanics who needed work, and made a rule that nobody would ever tow a vehicle without proof of a legitimate, court-signed order. But something in his eyes reminded me of myself back before I got this land, when I was desperate and broken and just needed a break. Worked hard, treated customers right, and that felt better than firing him ever did. No HOA, no landlord, no angry neighbor with a grudge would ever steal a person's vehicle again under my watch. But I didn't stop there. He was holding a beat-up resume in his hand. I turned Atlas Recovery and Tow into something new. "Miller," he said, "I'm really sorry for how I treated you back then. I'd like a second chance." We cleaned up abandoned cars the legal way, posted proper notices, waited out the legal hold, and then processed them honestly. My drivers knew the rules cold. They'd taken the car without a proper order. Word spread fast. Within a month, people started calling to say thanks. Business boomed. The best part, over the next few months, I settled into my new role. I'd done it so nobody else would be robbed like I was. One afternoon, as I was finishing paperwork in the tiny trailer we used for an office, a beat-up Nissan pulled up outside. "You the owner?" he asked. I nodded. "They took my mom's car," he said, "from her driveway." I felt that old fire in my chest. "Who towed it?" I asked. He handed me a wrinkled receipt. It was from a rival company, one of the vultures who tried to copy Atlas after we rebranded. I stood up. "Come with me." 15 minutes later, I was on the phone with the company's manager, reading him chapter and verse of the state property code. It became a pattern. People who had no voice, no power, started to come to Liberty for help. Meanwhile, the Hoa kept trying to mess with me. First they tried code violations, complaining about my commercial signage on my own property. But they didn't quit. One morning, I woke up to find someone had spray-painted scum across my barn doors. When the Hoa president, a woman named Clarissa, walked past that day, she smirked and said, I looked her dead in the eye. Yeah, I told her. She didn't like that answer, but she walked on. Liberty kept growing. We picked up contracts with local businesses who were sick of shady tow operators, and we took care of people. One night a single mom called because her car had broken down at a gas station, and she was terrified it would get towed overnight. I wasn't trying to be a hero. Then one day, the same dispatcher who'd once called me a nobody showed up at my front desk, looking sheepish. For a second I wanted to slam the door in his face. I hired him back on probation. Over time, he proved himself.